Hello everyone, how are you all? Today's video is a special request from one of our awesome subscribers, and the topic is how do you deal with abandonment issues? So we'll discuss the psychology, healing, and manifestation approaches on it. So let's begin. Have you ever felt like just not enough? Or maybe you feel anxious in relationships, constantly worried that someone will walk away. Maybe you doubt your worth, not just in love, but in your work, your talents, wondering if you are ever truly good enough. Maybe you push yourself too hard, overachieving or saying yes to everything, even when your heart is screaming no, just to prove your worth or to be chosen, to be included, to be safe, and most importantly, to not be judged. And if that resonates with you, you could be dealing with abandonment wounds. And in today's video, we are going to dive deep into the abandonment issues, what they are, where they come from, and most importantly, how you can heal and transform them into a more secure, confident sense of self. So let's see what we're going to learn and understand in today's video. Part 1. What are abandonment issues? The origins in the childhood, the causes and factors behind it. Carl Jung and Gabor Maté's perspective. Healing with Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, and Florence Scovel Shinn, and also some practical tools to work on it. So let's get started. Part 1. What are abandonment issues? Abandonment issues aren't just about breakups or people walking away. Clinically, they refer to deep-rooted fears of being left, rejected, or emotionally disconnected from people you rely on for love, care, support, and stability. So these fears can show up in different ways, such as clinginess or emotional dependency, avoiding intimacy altogether to protect yourself, overthinking or constantly doubting people's intentions, also extreme fear of rejection even in minor situations. Most importantly is the self-sabotage in relationships before someone else can leave, you leave them first. So from a psychological standpoint, abandonment issues are often linked to attachment trauma, where the nervous system becomes hyper alert to signs of loss or disconnection. And this can lead to emotional patterns like anxious attachment, where you are constantly requiring reassurance, or avoidant behaviors such as shutting down or pulling away, people pleasing or perfectionism to earn love, chronic self doubt, and low self worth. And here's the key, these patterns aren't random. They usually stem from something much deeper than what's happening in the present. Most often, they are rooted in the early childhood experiences. So let's move on to the next part of the video, that is the origins of in childhood. So, abandonment wounds often take root in the earliest stages of life, that is during the early childhood, when the brain and nervous system are still developing. During this stage, a child is completely dependent on their caregivers for safety, love, and emotional regulation. When those needs aren't met consistently, whether due to a parent being emotionally unavailable, absent, unpredictable, overly critical, or even too controlling, the child doesn't feel hurt. They begin to form beliefs like, love isn't safe. I have to earn love by being perfect or useful. People always leave, or something must be wrong with me. So these beliefs aren't just thoughts, they become part of the child's emotional blueprint. They are stored in the subconscious, influencing how they relate to others, how they see themselves, and how they handle closeness, conflict, and trust. Without healing, these unconscious patterns carry forward into adulthood, shaping our romantic relationships, our friendships, even our careers and self worth. Let's move on to the part 3, that is the causes and contributing factors. Abandonment issues don't always come from obvious trauma. Sometimes they come from quiet, invisible wounds like emotional neglect and growing up with emotionally immature parents. Some of the most common contributing factors are emotional neglect, that is, growing up with parents who didn't acknowledge or respond to your emotional needs. Physical or emotional abuse, like any form of harm or fear that made love feel unsafe. Divorce or loss of a parent, sudden separation that leaves a child feeling unsafe or unloved. Unpredictable caregiving, having a caregiver who was hot and cold, loving one moment and distant the next. Or overdependence, that is, when a child feels emotionally responsible for a parent, losing their own sense of identity. Abandonment during critical bonding stages as well, like during early school years when a child's attachment system is still wiring itself. So, these are some common contributing factors. Each of these scenarios, the child's nervous system learns that love is conditional, or I must be accepted, or I must work to be accepted, or connection is unsafe, etc. And over time, this can lead to emotional coping strategies like people pleasing, overworking, avoiding vulnerability, or developing anxious or avoidant attachment styles. Now, to understand abandonment, we need to look inward, like beneath the symptoms, and into the psyche. Now, both Carl Jung and Dr. Gabor Maté, they offer profound insights into what happens inside us when we feel left, rejected, or unseen. Since I have read a bit on this, let's understand Carl Jung and Dr. Gabor Maté's perspective on this issue. So Carl Jung, he emphasized on the inner child and the shadow. So he taught that what we repress or what we push away to survive emotionally, that thing doesn't disappear. That becomes a part of what he called the shadow self. In other words, when we experience abandonment early in life, feeling unloved, unsafe, emotionally invisible, we often bury the parts of ourselves that felt hurt, needy, angry, or afraid. And that abandonment, that abandoned the inner child, it becomes unconscious. It's still there, but we are no longer aware of it. Instead, it shows up as anxiety, people pleasing, avoidant behavior, or feeling like we are not enough. These all attempts to further prevent abandonment. Carl Jung said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it continues to control us, and we call it fate. That's why we find ourselves repeating the same painful patterns, attracting unavailable partners, sabotaging love, or fearing closeness, all driven by a wounded part of us we've never faced. So, how do we heal this? So, Carl Jung suggested shadow work, that is, gently explore and accept the parts of yourself you've rejected, your neediness, your anger, fear. You have to see all of it without judgment. Next comes inner child dialogue, that is, meditate or journal conversations with your younger self. You can ask questions like, what did you need that you didn't get? And offer the love and security they never received. Another technique of his was integration. The goal is not to fix the inner child, but to embrace them, to become the parent they always needed. Healing starts when you stop abandoning yourself And Carl Jung teaches that you must become the parent you always needed. Now let's talk about Dr. Gabor Mate's perspective, and he emphasized on trauma, authenticity, and self-abandonment. Dr. Gabor Maté redefines trauma as not what happens to you, but what happens inside of you as a result of what had happened. So, in childhood, if being fully ourselves or expressive, emotional, or curious, if that often led to punishment, shame, or disapproval, we face a terrible choice of authenticity or attachment. And to survive, we often abandon our true selves in order to keep the love or approval of caregivers. We learned to suppress our emotions, deny needs, or become what others wanted us to be. So Gabor Mate says the abandonment of the self is the root of addiction, anxiety, codependency, and chronic illness. Because if love means losing yourself, we end up either chasing love or fearing it. This self abandonment becomes chronic, and we grow up disconnected from our own emotions, boundaries, and worth. We may feel anxiety without even knowing why, or even feel emotionally alone even when we are in relationships. So, healing in Gabor Mate's view means returning to authenticity, feeling what you couldn't feel before, and reclaiming your right to exist fully and emotionally. And his healing work consists of compassionate inquiry. That is, you'll ask yourself gently, where did I begin to disconnect from my truth in order to be loved? Or another one was emotional presence. Like instead of suppressing feelings, allow them to surface. Those feelings could be anger, grief, fear. You have to watch all of them without judgment. And another was reclaiming authenticity. Start showing up as who you really are, even if it feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. The path to healing, he says, is to reconnect with your authentic self and learn to be present with your pain rather than running away from it. So both Carl Jung and Dr. Gabor Mate, they both remind us that abandonment isn't just about walking away. It's about the ways we have learned to walk away from ourselves. Healing means coming back to the parts of you that you left behind and learning to love them fully. So, this deeper understanding sets up spiritual and subconscious approaches beautifully because once we understand the wound, we can choose to rewire it. I hope these perspectives have helped you understand the topic more clearly. And if you are with me so far and everything makes sense, go ahead and hit the like button. So let's move on to the next part, healing through metaphysical perspective. So let's talk about Neville's perspective. According to Neville, the outer world is a mirror of your inner state. To heal abandonment, you must imagine yourself already as someone who is deeply loved, chosen, and emotionally safe. You impress this feeling onto the subconscious through saturation, repetition, and faith. The affirmation you can use is I'm always chosen, I'm loved, and secure. Let's talk about Joseph Murphy. He emphasized on subconscious programming. So Murphy taught that the subconscious mind accepts whatever you believe to be true. He emphasized on using affirmations right before sleeping because that's a powerful time when the subconscious is most open. And the affirmation could be I now choose love, peace, and you could also use sleep meditations such as repeating security based affirmations as you drift off to sleep. Next, let's talk about Florence Scovel Shinn. she emphasized on spiritual law and words of power. So she emphasized that the power of spoken word. Her approach was always rooted in faith and divine order. So to her, the healing meant aligning with the divine truth that love is always present and you're never truly alone. The affirmations, or the affirmation you could say, could be I'm divinely loved and always supported. Nothing can be lost that belongs to me by divine right. So these were some spiritual and metaphysical teachers' perspective. Let's move on to the next part, that is practical tools which you can use. So here are the powerful ways to start healing today. First one could be inner child meditation. Sit quietly and visualize your younger self and let them know that they are safe now. You can elaborate and use your imagination to have these conversations with yourself. Okay. Next one could be journaling. You could ask questions such as when do I feel most afraid of being left? Or what would I say to my younger self in that moment? And the third one, you can frame 5 to 6 affirmations which could help you regain your power. So, affirmations could be I'm safe and supported, love is safe now, I trust myself, and I am enough. You can add more of your choice. So, if you want to go deeper, these are the exact tools we explore in my one on one sessions. And we'll work together to heal abandonment patterns, reconnect with your inner child, and build emotional safety. You can book a session by connecting with me on Instagram via DM, and I'd love to support you. Lastly, becoming securely attached means reparenting yourself. It means choosing to believe that you are worthy, lovable, and safe, even when your fear says otherwise. You're not here to chase people, you are here to be your full, secure, authentic self and let the right people meet you there. Let me know in the comments what resonated with you the most, and if you've started this healing journey, how are you doing it? If this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. You are loved, you are safe, and you are enough.